Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Classic acdc for you today. We're learning how to play It's a Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll. So this one is, and they haven't even played this live since pretty much the 70s. After Bon Scott died, they just never played it live again because it's kind of his signature song. So in honor of them, they never did it again. So it's got some interesting things about it. It's in the key of B flat. And they did that to match the drone of the bagpipes. So they probably just tuned their guitars up a half step, everything. I don't like doing that. I don't like tuning my guitars up. So I'm just using a capo to kind of match the pitch, which is probably what you're going to want to do too. When they played it live, though, they just played it in A. So they basically played it how I'm going to teach it to you here, but everything down really a fret, really, just because it's really, they just played it down a half step live in the regular A. So it's kind of played like it's in A, but since we have a capo, it sounds like it's in B flat. So if we want to match the recording, we're going to have this. But like I said, live, they just did away with it. So if you're not playing along with the record, you can just go ahead and move everything down a fret and you'll be good to go. So let's, before we get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Ring that notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And very important, if you like what I do here on YouTube, it's great to subscribe, comment on the videos. That really helps, of course. But the best way to support is to become a member of my academy. And you'll see a link to it in the description below. It's called the GL365 Academy. Pretty original, huh? Yeah. So that academy contains all of my guitar courses covering everything from complete beginner stuff to more advanced courses in improvisation, ear training, theory, technique, guitar tone is a complete guitar tone course. So you get personalized support from me as well. That link will give you a free 7-day trial to it. And like I said, that is the best way to support what I do here on YouTube because I could not do all these free song lessons on YouTube every week if I didn't have my academy. All right, so please go check it out. All right, so let's jump into the track. So like I said, I'm in standard tuning, but I got a capo at the first fret just for us to be able to play along with the original recording. So now it's a pretty simple song, but there's little intricacies to it that you can do throughout the song to kind of make it sound closer to the original. So when we have this opening riff, so when Malcolm Young first comes in with this, we have a little bit of a pattern that he's doing with it at the very beginning. And I'm also going to bring in a little other thing that you don't see a lot of people doing when they play it, which means he's incorporating the low E string in there as well. And kind of. So we'll talk about that in a second. So let's get the riff going first. So what that riff basically is you can play the open D and the open G string, and then hammering on the second fret. Now, when I'm saying the second fret, I'm meaning the second fret above the capo there, all right? When I get up here and I'm teaching the solo and all that stuff, I'll just call out the actual frets because it's nowhere near the capo, so it's easier that way. But here, when we're down here, when I say second fret, I'm meaning second fret up front of the capo. So therefore, when you want to take it down, take the capo off, you'll just move down to the actual second fret. So we have this. So that first one, we started with the open D and G and hammered on those two notes on the D and the G string at the second fret. And then we just kind of hit the chord, then a couple of mutes on the A string, and then hit that chord again. And then what we do is we do the riff again, but we don't start it with the hammer-ons. He just goes and hits the chord. He does that twice. So one time with the hammer-on, 2 times without it, and then the 4th time with the hammer-on again. So that's kind of the opening pattern that he does. So we have this. And then he repeats all of that again. So that's kind of what you're hearing when he's opening the song. But you're also going to hear a low E string in there. Now he's not hitting the E string every time, so that is kind of a random thing. But basically, instead of chugging along with just the A chord, he's incorporating kind of muted too. Instead of muted hits on the open A, it's muted hits on the open A. It's really the only time you're going to hear him do it that loud. It's just kind of in the intro. You can hear him incorporating that low E string in there. I don't think it's that big of a deal where you put it, because it's not really, he's not really doing a pattern to it. I think it's more of a random thing that he's doing, or you can kind of hit the A and the E together. All right, so that's what you're hearing in the intro. And then after he's done that pattern twice, then he pretty much does the hammer on every time. And like I said, when he hammers on those two notes, when we get to the actual chord, when he's hitting it, he'll now sometimes make it a full major chord. So you're going to add that second fret on the B string. You're not hammering on that note. You're going to hammer on still those two. And when you get there, then you're going to add, when you're doing that part of it, you're going to add that second fret there above the capo on the B string. So just from then on, it kind of starts doing a hammer on. Now, sometimes I think it's a hammer on. Sometimes he's actually picking it. Like I said, it's kind of a random treatment that he's doing to it, so you can kind of do what you want with it. So as he's doing that, Angus starts to come in with this fill. So I believe here, because it sounds like there's an open string instead of just that one, it sounds like it's an open string. Obviously we had a capo here, but I think he's doing his hybrid picking, which he'll do a lot. So you slide into, this is the 5th fret above the capo, obviously the actual 6th fret on the guitar here. So you slide into that note. Then you're going to pick that note again while hybrid picking the open G string. So we have this. So slide there, pick those two notes together, and then go to the A power chord and let it ring. All right, so that's the fill that you're going to hear over that. So then when we get to the verse, it's kind of that same opening riff. A lot of, mostly the full A major chord there. Like I said, it's a pretty simple song. But those little intricacies that Malcolm Young threw in there, that's what can make it a little bit challenging. Then we get to the pre-chorus, which is the exact same riff, except I call it the pre-chorus because things are kind of building underneath. Malcolm will play the young, Malcolm will start playing the riff a little bit more open, and then at the end, he'll start really opening it up towards the end of this pre-chorus. So it's the same riff done 4 times, but he starts to open it up. But really the big difference between the pre-chorus and the verse is Angus starts doing these. He starts doing these chord stabs on it. So what is he doing here? He's up here 5 frets in front of the capo, so the actual 6th fret of the guitar. You're going to bar across the high E and the B string, and you're also going to play there. The 7th fret on the guitar, there on the G string. Now, obviously, when you take the capo off and just play this in A, which you move down a fret to there. Okay, so we have this. So that's going on. he starts doing that, and I consider that when he starts doing that, they're all kind of building up. That's the pre-chorus. And then we get to the chorus. All right, so that chorus starts with just the A chord first to the G chord. Now, this is a G power chord. So it's a G chord in front of, obviously it's an A flat chord if you want to be technical about it, but we're in front of the capo is just a G. So this is an A chord in front of the capo, and then a G chord in front of the capo. So it's just like as if you played it here, but up a fret. So what's going on here? I'm playing the third fret above the capo on the high E and the B. There's an open G string, an open D string, and I'm also playing the third fret in front of the capo on the low E. Now, I'm muting that open A string with the bottom of that finger. So that right there is a G power chord, an open G power chord. Very popular chord, well-used chord in the acdc lexicon. Now what we're going to do is they also do this a lot, where we're going to take this chord, we're going to move this note here back to the second fret above the capo, and then play the second fret above the capo on the G string, and then the third fret above the capo on the B. So what we're doing here, if I'm playing that low E string, I'm muting the A still with the bottom of that same finger, open D, second fret there in front of the capo on the G, third fret in front of the capo on the B. And then you don't hit the high E string. I'm kind of muting that with my pinky there. So that's how Angus actually plays that chord. You can play it like this. Some people kind of will do it like that. It's fine, doesn't matter. Angus plays it like this though. So it's mo better to be like Angus. So, and then so then we go back to that A riff, and then the same thing. It's a G. Then let that A chord ring, and then take it to a D. Make it a D major chord above the capo. And then back to the, it's a same chords in the same. All right, so all together for the chorus, we have this. All right, now we have this bagpipe section coming into play, and underneath that is just that A riff. Obviously it's B flat riff right now, but so that's just what's going on underneath those bagpipes. And then we have this sort of call and response section between Angus and I guess Bon Scott playing the bagpipes. And it's kind of like this. We have this, so I'll show you, that's what Angus is doing, but I'll also show you kind of how to do the bagpipes are doing the same little lick, but an octave higher. So I'll show you how to play that too, so you can just kind of play those together if you're in a band. Obviously, most people don't have a bagpipe player hanging out with, thankfully. Those things are loud. My brother played bagpipes. It sucked. They are the loudest instrument in the entire world. You do not want to live with a bagpipe player. Just a little tip. All right, so we're going to play, we're going to hammer 11 to 12 on the D string, then over to 11 on the B. That's the lick. And then he'd go back, kind of chug on the A a couple beats, and then back to do the same lick again. All right, so if you don't want to go back to that A, you just want to do it the kind of mirror the melody that Bon Scott plays on the bagpipes there, you can do the whole kind of call and response thing, which is like this. All right, so that's that same lick. But instead of going back to the A chord, you can have the rhythm guitar player do that. You can jump up here, and it's basically just an octave higher. I'm at the 16th fret there. I'm sorry, 18th fret on the G string. Hammer on to the 19th fret, then go over to the 18th fret on the high E string. All right, now we get to the solos. So coming out of that little call and response thing, we have the solo where Angus will play the chords and then he'll jump into the lick and then go back to the chords and stuff. So I'm going to do that as well. It's a fun solo to play, pretty short. So let's take a look at it. All right, so this is a fun one. So it's cool going back around those chords, taking a breather, then going to this really digging into those licks. So we start with the same kind of these chords that are in the chorus. So that G, that it's basically a D with the F sharp in the bass, or in this case, it's G in the bass, and the A chord, and then we have this first lick. So I'm going to call this out just as the actual fret, since we're far enough away for the capo. I'm not going to go, what is 12 frets above the capo, because that'd be stupid. So we have this. So what he's doing here is this first lick in the solo, he's going to bend up a step and a half. So you're going to make that 13th fret sound like the 16. And then he's going to bend that note again, but this time only a whole step. So it's going to sound like the 15th fret. So we have this. And then, so that right there is 11, 13 on the B, over to 12 on the G, back to that 11 on the B, back to that 12 on the G, and back to the 11. And he slides that down. So we have this. All right, then we do the same 3 chords again. And he has this next lick. So that is up to the 16th fret now. You're going to do a whole step bend, release that bend, pull off to 14. And then a couple more bends to that 16th fret on the B. Try this. And then a pretty fast lick. So that's going to play 13, 16, 13 on the high E string. Over to 16 on the B string, and then you're going to pull off 14 to 13 on the B. So that's the only kind of pull off in there. And then over to the 15th fret on the G string with a lot of vibrato on it. of all right, back to the same 3 chords again. And then we have this last lick here. So that's going to start up here at the 18th fret on the B and the G string. That double stop. And then over to the 20th fret on the D. And then you do that again. So this. Then. So that's a bend at that 20th fret on the G string. Then you're going to play 21 on the B string. Sorry. And then bend that again on the 18th fret on the G. And pick it at the top of it and release the bend. Sorry. And release that bend. So this. Pull off to the 18th fret and then bend that 20th fret there again on the G. And then we're going to end the solo like this. We're going to play 18th fret on the high E string, roll over to 18 on the B, then play 21, and bend that up a whole step. And then kind of slide, I think it sounds maybe a little bit up the G and then down it to the 2nd fret there right in front of above the capo. Now obviously if you play this like I think it's actually played, where I think they probably just tuned their guitars up a whole step, they probably didn't capo it. Couldn't really imagine Angus using a capo. But we basically would have everything that you just learned there would be played a whole step, a half step lower. So 1 fret lower than the guitar. So instead of going, it'd be like, obviously will not match the recording, but that's how they played it live in the 70s. They played it just standard tuned guitar, open, sort of no capo and all that stuff. So, but like I said, we're just trying to match the recording here. All right, so now after the solo, we go back into it's kind of the same verse thing, the same pre-chorus. And then we get to the chorus again, and the chorus is played pretty much the same, but it's kind of an extended version of the chorus. So we have this. So everything's the same so far. Same stuff here. So right here, it just now goes to that G, the D chord with the S sharp and the bass, to the A. Add that at the end. Do it 3 times. All right, I forgot to turn off my overdrive pedal. So then this outro underneath the bagpipe section, which eventually fades out, has a couple of like 3 different guitar riffs under it that we have. The first one we've seen before. So it starts with that. Like I said, sometimes you can do the hammer on, sometimes just no real pattern to it. But as they continue that riff, we have a couple of new riffs that start coming in there. I think the bass player first does this riff, and then they start coming in like guitars, but really low in the mix. So you might not have ever picked it up or heard it before, but it is going on. So let me play those 2 riffs back to back here. So it sounds like this. right, so this kind of things. If you listen close to the recording, you're going to hear that at the end, especially as it starts to fade out. So that first riff is just. So that's just 3rd fret in front of the capo, 4th fret in front of the capo to the A chord. Obviously it's a B flat, but we're going to call it A because it's A in front of the capo. So just in that little rhythm on the A, like 3 beats there, and then go back to the lick. So do this for a while, maybe 2 bars. So kind of starts on the upbeat here. We had this 3rd fret in front of the capo on the low E string to the A power chord. And when you play that 3rd fret, you can do a slight bend on it if you want. So he does that like 4 times. And then we go back down and hit the low E, that 3rd fret on the low E twice, then the power chord. So basically that's the 5th time you're going to play like that. So we have this 1 and 4 times. So this the 5th time you hit the low E string twice. All right, then it kind of starts fading out and stuff. All right, so it is a fun song, not very difficult to play. Got some tricky rhythms there. That's kind of a tricky rhythm at the end there, coming up on the upbeat and stuff. And of course, the solo is not easy, but it's a lot of fun to play once you get it underneath your fingers. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.